What up, what up, what up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Molly Ruland. I am back with another edition of Live from the Living Room. I am excited for today's episode. It is a new guest to me as well. So shout out to Rachel Torgoff for making the connection. I appreciate all your support. Hey, exactly. And so, I'm excited to bring in the guest today to talk about the power of storytelling. I feel like, right now, more than ever, it's so important that we are healing our communities and telling stories and sharing perspective. As you all know, my tagline is "Listening is the revolution," and I truly believe that. I think that if we can listen to each other, it's a lot harder to hate one another, to not want to love each other, to not want to support. Perspective is everything, right? And the only way that we can share perspective is by listening. So I am super excited about this conversation. We are going to get to know each other while we're doing this, so it'll be fun for everybody. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Satori. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, and the title of my TED Talk was "Listening is a Revolutionary Act."
What? Look at
And
that.
at
I
the
swear I
high
didn't.
and at the highest level,
That's
listening
so
is
funny.
love.
Right. It's Heartcast Media. That's so funny. I swear I didn't steal it from you, although it sort of feels like that,
Hey,
right?
please steal it, and share it,
um,
though.
that is too funny. Yeah, I've been, that's kind of my jam, right? I just realized like it's all about listening, right? Like because when you humanize people, then you realize that like, oh crap, we're all the same. And so all these like beliefs that I've had my whole life that I'm carrying around for whatever reason, right? Like they're wrong, and like and it could be scary, but it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful, right? Like, that's where we all need to be. And I think right now we have a unique opportunity, even though there's a lot of people like yelling on social media, but I still feel there's a unique opportunity to listen to one another. So please introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you do. What's your story?
Well, hello there, world. My name is Satori Shakoor. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised Detroit, Michigan. I am an artist, I am a storyteller, and I'm a social entrepreneur. I have a live storytelling event, a production company called the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. We have a global mission to connect humanity, heal and transform community, and to provide an uplifting, thought provoking, soul cleansing entertainment experience through the art and craft of storytelling. We believe that storytelling, just like organic vegetables and fruit, is organic therapy, healing, transformation, and celebration of humanity and society. And like you, we believe that listening grants being to another human being. It's a human kindness. It's an extension of oneself. And at the
Mm-hmm.
highest level, it's love. It's a revolutionary act. However, listening is probably the most challenging thing for a human being to do because we already have things that we're listening to, which is ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're in the presence of a unique, profound, extraordinary other person, we're listening to all of our judgments, assessments, and everything of that person. And so there's something always between us and the other person, which is our filter. And so storytelling is probably the most effective delivery
Mm-hmm.
system of communication, of ideas and information. It's an extraordinary high level, it's an art form, it's a craft, and we tell stories all day long, whether we know it or not. And sometimes we don't know whether we believe that our stories are true.
Mm-hmm.
They're real, but how they're a perspective. I remember when I was in Montreal, I was there to do a piece of theater in the Just for Laughs Festival, and I went to an exhibition at the Museum of Montreal. It was a Picasso erotica exhibition. I'm like, I've never seen his erotica, and I went there. It was fascinating, but he had this huge. It was like almost 5 feet, maybe more, sculpture of his muse Dora. And as you moved around the sculpture, it looked different. I mean, if I was on the opposite side, it was another sculpture. It had all kinds of planes and shapes. And so that's how I think of it. You look at it's like that elephant story, or you look at one perspective, you see exactly what it is, the sliver that you see.
Mm-hmm.
But it may take all of our perspectives to even approximate, come close to anything called a truth. But we can share our experience, which other human beings understand because we are human. We're designed the same way. We bleed, we feel, we get affected by viruses. And this is a unique opportunity in this moment because everyone is listening to the same thing, which is, am I safe? Am I healthy? When is this going to be over? It's all Corona. I'm a positive person. I'm a glass half full girl. So what
Mm-hmm.
I see and I'm a storyteller. So what I see is the possibility of a new future, a new kind of human being that's
Mm-hmm.
kind and loving, and I've become a distinguished Democrat socialist because I realize that capitalism is not an application for right now. It doesn't solve anything right now. The Dow Jones, it bailed when it got scared. It ran and red was everywhere. And so it's not the economy. It's just the
Right.
thermometer on the economy. What
Right.
has worked is human beings assisting and supporting other human beings, reaching out. I had to sing happy
Mm-hmm.
birthday to my granddaughter virtually, and people are dying and their loved ones are gone, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to reach and touch. So storytelling, words have a
Mm-hmm.
power, and they have a way of dancing in the imagination of the listeners, and the listener sort of cast and populates my story with their characters. And at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, if I tell the story well enough, you become you become me. I become you, and at the end of the journey, you have something to say. I've introduced you to something about me that's like you or not,
Right.
but at least we're expanded from the experience. What's
Mm-hmm.
that in the back of you? Is that a lampshade that is kind of blue? And it looks like it's got some kind of cloud coming out of it. But anyway,
Oh, it's the TV.
oh, it's the TV.
So
Okay.
you must be getting a reflection. I'm like, my house isn't on
Oh,
fire.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Special effecty.
Yeah. Well, we're on split screen on the broadcast, so people can't actually see it.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
that we'll
All
we'll
right.
show the people. I wonder what it is. You must be getting oh yeah,
It's
it's like
it's 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 it's, it's okay. I just
the
see it.
sunshine.
I see
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not distracting. It looks like art
Oh, there you go.
moving around.
Accidental art. Well, I loved your website. When I was checking you out, I saw that like listening is like greatest like kindness you can extend, something along those lines. And I just
Hmm.
love that so much. And I love the imagery that you showed with like people like sitting in the audience and like listening. And it's just so valuable, to just be present and be quiet. I was listening to Brene Brown's new podcast yesterday. Are you familiar with Brene Brown?
Yes.
I love her. So she, has this new podcast, and she was saying you should listen with the same passion that you want to be heard. And I thought, oh man, and she said, and that's hard. She said, because I really am passionate about people listening to me, but I'm not always so passionate about listening to other people. And I was like, I can relate to that, right? Even though that's like, maybe that's why I'm so drawn to that, right? Because I have a hard time listening, right? Or the stories that we tell ourselves, it depends on the moment, right? And sometimes
Yeah.
you don't even know the story that you're telling yourself until it's too late sometimes, or until, you make a bunch of mistakes, and then, or you sell yourself short, you don't think you're worthy of things, and you might not even be aware of that inner dialogue that's like really keeping you down. And so, yeah, sometimes finding some perspective and like empathy in somebody else's journey, it kind of helps,
Hmm.
um, for sure. I agree with you. I think that we're going to come out of this like not to quote Ronald Reagan or whoever it was, but a kinder, gentler nation. I definitely see some separation right now, and people are upset. And like people are protesting and stuff. And it is what it is, right? But I feel like the media gives a lot of attention to like these, like, I don't know if you're familiar, but there was this Unite the Right march in DC, and it was like
Well,
all
we
these white.
had one. We had one a couple of days ago in East Lansing. They're
Yeah.
protesting the stay home, stay in home
Right.
order, and there are a
Right.
bunch of white supremacists up there and people up there like that, evangelicals. Not,
Right.
I don't have a judgment of any religion, but they
Right.
felt protected by God that they weren't going to get the um, the virus and whatnot, and so they were up
Right.
there protesting it. But I have compassion for it because this is a social experiment
Right.
if you just look at it, it's like we all have to be home.
Right.
We have to mask up, glove up.
Mhm.
We have to be afraid of each other. We take it
Mhm.
upon ourselves to go, "Where's your mask? Sick, back up!" In the grocery
Right.
stores. And so there is no one, everyone is the same possibility of an infection.
Right.
It's not that you're white, that you're black, that you're anything. It's that you're
Right.
human and you could transmit the virus if you breathe on me.
Exactly.
So it's really an interesting time, but it's also the backdrop of it gives us a chance to look at the raw realness and the reality of who we are, what
Mhm.
we've created as a society, as a
Right.
community, as people. It gives us a chance to find out how generous we are, how selfish we are, how
Mhm.
human we are. And it gives us time to think about how when we come back, who we're going to come back as and what
Yeah.
we're going to come back doing. When we do come back, there are going to be a lot of things that won't exist. Like, I don't know why I would wear makeup anymore. Why would I put on pants? I love being in my. I bought a whole lot of pajamas at those
Right.
outlet malls last year, and now every day I'm looking forward to which pair of pajamas am I going to wear around the house
I
today.
mean, hey, there's a certain level of opulence right there, like, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that I think we're gonna come out of this a little bit better, or hopefully a lot better, and I think that the negative and the division that we're seeing is just the media giving it to like a very small group of people. But the reality is like there's so many more people who are doing the right thing and who are being kind and who are being generous. It's just not necessarily headline news. So even though sometimes I think if people get on social media, they're like, but like, I don't think that's an accurate like snapshot of what's going on. I see like communities organizing. I see people activating. I see people like donating to food banks. Like I'm in this one group on Facebook that sews masks. And like the only rule is that you can't sell them. And they have like drop off points and like supply drop offs. And like they're just like really like organizing and making this happen. And they've sewn like probably 1,000 masks, right? Just like the community getting together, like person to person, making it. Oh, you're out of elastic? I have elastic. Or I have t-shirts, like whatever it might be. And I think it's just so powerful. It's so amazing. It's so reassuring to me that, we got so far away because we have everything is on an app, right? Like even like, you push a button and a car shows up like 2 minutes later. Like this is the future, people, right? And that's cool and all, but like I don't necessarily need it to come that quickly. I like we could just improve upon some of the the basic one-on-one, right? Like I love the connectivity of the global market. I love all of that. But then I think on a one-on-one level, there needs to be a little bit more connectivity, right? And I think this is going to force that to happen, like curbside pickup and like supporting restaurants on purpose, right? Like not just like, what do I want? It's like, no, I'm going to go out of my way to support this particular local business, right? And that kind of stuff I think has just energy, right? It like puts it out in the universe and it comes back and it inspires other people to do good things. And I just think that's awesome. I think it's about time we got back to like the barter system, in the
Yeah,
community,
yeah. See, when we pool our resources, when we have more.
Right.
If I don't have the silk and you have the silk, I have the silk too.
Right.
Or if I don't have some canned goods and you do, I have them too. So
Right.
it's a share. It's socialism. That's what socialism is. It's provide. Like I'm also a Canadian citizen. Okay,
Okay.
so in Canada, if I were in Canada right now, I would have health care
Right.
and I would get $2,000 a month until it's over.
Right. And you're
Uh,
not thinking about hopping over.
no, I'm married, and he, and look, I'm busy all the time. I'm always I'm producing live shows with 300 and more people every month. I'm teaching
Right.
storytelling workshops. I do public speaking, keynotes. I'm always burning, 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 and I run a nonprofit. So
Right.
to not have to do anything, not to have anything want my energy. Look, I bought a new car on March 12th. I drove out with a full tank of gas. I have a quarter tank yesterday of the
Right.
same gas because and then when I filled it up, I was like, oh, he only put 20. He went in there and bought $20. I said, do you think $20 is going to fill up my tank? And it was
Right.
16
Sure
because
enough.
gas has gone down. That's too much oil and all the things that we are giving people now. Why can't we give them all the time? If you're going
Right.
to provide health care for everybody so that everybody is has well-being in society, why can't you do that all the time? I mean, if
Exactly.
you're not, if you aren't protected, if your health isn't of value, neither is mine, because I might pass by you and you can cough. So we
Right.
want you to be healthy and me to be healthy and the community to be healthy, and so that we're all healthy. This me, this more for me and less for you.
Right.
It doesn't work. It doesn't instill the kind of values. So I don't mind. I mean, you want to give $58 billion to the airlines and then they lay off the employees. Well, I don't know. I like going on. I like traveling and whatnot. But I can, I rather have, when this come back, I want my nail salon to be there. I want my hair. I look like a wildebeest. You know, my
You do not, but I
my
hear you.
my eyebrows. I did a lot to make my eyebrows look like they weren't one big bush up here. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I hear you. The
And
lady
these are
stash.
important people. These, and then I also found out, the kind of privilege I have.
Right.
For the things that I miss. Those are luxuries. Those are whimmy things.
Right.
And I'm like, really? I've got to do my own, you know. And it's like it's privilege, but I don't think there's anything wrong with privilege. I think privilege is a great thing to have as long as we all have access to
As
it.
long as we all have it.
Then it's
Exactly.
not privilege. It's just the way the world works, and
It's just life.
it's just what it is.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I say that a lot when we're talking about like gentrification. And I'm like, well, gentrification, the effects of it, like better schools and better parks and more jobs, like those are great things. The problem is that the people who are from there aren't getting any of them. It's the
Right.
displacement that comes with the gentrification. Like
Yes.
that's the issue, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it's a simplified version of it, but like at the end of the day, yeah, like privilege is great as long
Yeah.
as everybody gets an equal slice of it, for
Yes.
sure.
Considered.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I have been, I hadn't left the house for 5 weeks. I was just like really paring down. Now I moved locations, but I'm still staying inside and just trying to navigate all of this and kind of figure it out. And the first few weeks are really tough. I was just like, what the hell? Right. Like, I think everybody was like, it's like the 5 stages of death or whatever, right? It's like denial, like we went, or grief, whatever it is. We went through all of it, and some of us are still going, and then we'll have like 18 waves of it, I suspect, right? But I finally hit a point this week where I got really excited about using the resources and the privilege that I have, right, and to make things better for a lot of people. So I'm working on a 1-page like restaurant order form that I can sell to restaurants super cheap. That's like really plug and play. Like, here you go. Now you can do delivery and pickup without Uber Eats taking your money. And like, you can create another job. You can hire a delivery driver. You don't need Uber Eats. Nobody needs it's not that serious. You know what I'm saying? From a public health and safety point, like all this, I'm working with some other people on upgrading virtual conferences and like the logistics of that and how that works. And so it's, really thinking about like, where are we going to be next? What does that actually look like? And then how can I get involved? How can I help people? How can I make sure these resources are evenly distributed? And think about, because, we're not going back to where we were. Like, that's just it. Like, business is going to be done differently. Travel is going to be done differently. Everything is going to be done differently. And what does that look like? And then as we rebuild, we have to make sure that it's not just a 1% rebuilding. Like in our own communities, we have to create things for our communities for after the storm, whether it's 2 months or 22 months. Like no one really knows, right? So like I've been getting really excited about what does that look like and how can I use the resources that I do have to bridge some of those gaps and help as many people as possible. And just having that to focus on has just made me feel so much better in general, because I'm spending less time thinking about like, shit, like what does this mean? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to create. I'm just going to adapt and create and have great conversations with people who are doing the same thing and see if we can connect some dots and help other people and keep it moving, because what else can we do right now? I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm appreciative of the luxury of time, and I'm applying for all the SBAs and all the artist relief things for the nonprofit and for everything, because we're talking with other partners in terms of doing virtual storytelling. We're already we have our YouTube channel that the people subscribership has went up on, and people are watching longer. I am working. I'm writing. I'm a writer, and I've been. I plan to film the piece. It's called "Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale." And it's my story. It spans 12 years, but it starts with, what is that? I'm not nice. I'm saying exactly what's on my mind. I've alienated a couple of coworkers and a few fake friends, and I'm shocked that I don't give a shit. What's happening to me? It starts there until, and it goes. But I'm excited about it. Because I think this is, I think I became woke at 43, and I wanted to, it was a very conscious choice on my part to go through this period awake without any sort of anything to ease it, any kind of pills or anything, replacement therapy, nothing like that. I wanted to be present to my awesome transformation.
That's amazing.
I wanted to give it, I wanted to tell my story and make it available to women who are at that moment in their lives where what's going on with me? I have a gray hair here, all of those you're walking into. And then also when I have done parts of it for colleges or whatever, you have young men in the classroom, and I just thought this was about the women. And when I bring out that my mother was 50 and I was 14, that she was going through menopause at the same time I was going through puberty, they go, "Oh, I think that's what's happening to my moms." I said, "Well, how old is your mom's?" 52. Yep. How old is your mom? 48. Yep. Oh, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna research it because she was so cool until about. And so I think it's good to raise the awareness, because all of a sudden your mom is like, just like little kids, they want to run off at some point, leave the house. Your mother goes crazy at some point. You won't recognize her. She's crazy. She's throwing stuff. She's screaming. She's coming out of that caterpillar. She's butterflying, and it's not easy to shed that skin, because a lot of stuff is in that skin, so-called youth and this and that and the other thing, but you get a whole new youth.
So when I was 14, my mom was going through menopause. She had like a hysterectomy. And I'm the youngest of 4 children. And she was in the middle of a divorce. I know. And I was the youngest one. So all my siblings had like gone off to college. And then it was just kind of me and my mom from that like 14 to 16.
Oh, you were destined to be fierce.
Oh my God. I feel so bad. She'd be like, "You can't go out tonight." And I'd be like, "That's not fair." And she'd be like, "I'll show you fucking fair." You know what I mean? Like, I'm going through a divorce. I'm losing my fucking ovaries, but she was very much more gracious than that. But now as an adult, I can look back and go, "Oh God, I made it so much harder just because when you're 14, you're just a little jerk, basically,
Well,
like,
so is menopause. You think you occur like a jerk, but
yeah,
it's things going on. You're being shaped just like at the other end
yeah,
of the spectrum. You're like my breasts were poking me in my eyes. Hers were trying to touch her toes. I'm
right, right,
discovering
right.
boys, and I'm done with these men. They ain't none of them no good. And I'm like, but Odell is
Exactly.
teaching me how to tongue kiss. Hey, that ain't cute. I
Right.
come home from a little date, I'd be in the kitchen with the 60-watt light bulb. I'm sitting up there. Well, did you have sex or not, Mom? No, I don't. I felt like I was on Law and Order. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah, we definitely we
oh,
butt heads a lot. We butt
yeah,
heads a lot, man. And it took a lot of years for me to even figure it out. I was like, it's not fair. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not my fault that her dad I had all these little shithead ideas of like
yeah.
whatever, right? And then as an adult, it's like, oh God. Oh God. I feel so bad now. Like now I get it because I'm 44 and I
Mm-hmm.
definitely went through a bit of an awakening at 43. I was just like, well, I had a whole bunch of health issues and everything else happening, like 42 and 43. It was like the hardest year of my life. I had
Yep.
all kinds of medical issues, and then they thought I had cancer. And so they tested me for cancer, and I was just waiting for the results. And I realized, like, well, if they tell me I got 6 months to live, like, let's just like worst case, best case scenario. And I was like, well, if they tell me I got 6 months to live, then I was kind of relieved, and I was like, well, that's a problem, you know. And then the next part of me was like, well, if they say I got 6 months to live, I'm not doing this shit anymore, right? Like, like if I don't want to die this way, and that's when it dawned on me, like, if I don't want to die this way, I don't want to live this way either. And I joke that I reverse Oprah'd my life. I was like, you gotta go and you gotta move out, and I'm not responsible for you or you or you. Like it was so liberating. I
Yeah.
like got out of a bad lease that I was in. I shut down a business that I ran for 20 years, but it felt good. It was just like, like it served me well.
Yeah.
No regrets, as they say. But I was just ready for the next phase, and I was like, I'm not responsible for you. Like, you have to move out. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. And it was just such a liberating feeling, and it allowed me to really lean into the things that brought me joy and what I really enjoy, and that's elevating and amplifying voices, which it's always been for me. Because I was focused more on music for 20 years, local music, and so it
What
was a
kind of
very
music?
all kinds of music. So mostly more about being local than the type of music. So rappers, reggae bands, lots of DJs, spoken word. I had at one point 160 artists in my collective. We booked, festivals, Broccoli City, Funk Parade. I mean, we did a lot of, big stuff. And it was a wonderful, beautiful life. But then I just hit a point where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like this isn't, I'm 44, 43. My life has changed. But I really enjoy parts of this, but just I don't want to throw a party in a parking lot and stand on my feet for 17 hours and lose money anymore.
Well, I was a music major. I'm from Detroit, so this is Motown. But I was a music. I
Detroit.
played violin until I got to college, and then I majored in voice. And after that, I sang with Parliament Funkadelic, one of the Brides of
Nice.
Frankenstein. So I've
Hey.
had an extraordinary career as a musician, and then as an
Yeah.
actor, and now what I love is working with people and their stories, and then helping them craft their stories to tell live in front of our audience at the Wright Museum here in Detroit and the
Nice.
General Motors Theater. And it is for me when they get that applause, when people rush down at the end to say, I relate to that, and the storyteller, it can really be present to how extraordinary they are in the presence of these other people. It's the best feeling of all, and it's the way I serve. It's a calling, and so I get to meet four people I've never met before in my life. In most cases, I see them
Right.
4 weeks later. I work with them 1 hour a week on their story. I see them in the rehearsal. I meet them for the
Nice.
first time, and then they take the stage, and I feel connected. I feel like so.
Yeah.
We've been doing this 8 years. So there's so many people that I know now, and I and know
Yeah.
the story that makes it to the stage is 10 to 12, 15 minutes, but this time we share, the
Right.
things we share together are much richer. And I have, been in the presence of grown men crying, I mean, big tough Marines, or
Right.
I've heard many secrets that that people bring out, which I'm it's an honor and a
Mm-hmm.
privilege for them to bring out those stories and feel that there is enough trust between us that they can share them. And for me to be able to hear it, to use my listening, because it's not easy to listen to another human being, because we're either trying to figure out whether we agree or don't agree, whether
Right.
that's like something I did or not something I did, to just give up everything that, our judgments and all that, and just be with the other person is a skill, and it has to be practiced, because we're so used to, I don't agree with that, it was just this, and we never get out of that to
Yeah.
true communication, which is creativity. You're creating
Mm-hmm.
the person as they're sharing with you. You're creating that person in their own image. You're reflecting that back, because you're not trying to say, no, well, I don't, so it's, I've had people on my show that, I didn't agree with them, but it didn't matter. I had something bigger, which is I can listen to you. They were a racist. They grew up in Valdosta, Georgia. They were told generationally that white people are more superior and better than the black people, and I was able to hear that, and I was able to get that, and able to be with that journey until they discovered, okay, that wasn't true. But it's so many things,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a blessing to take a break
Mm-hmm.
and invest, because I'm a writer and I'm an artist myself, and because
Yeah.
a producer, as you say, you described yourself as a producer, and the
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things you have to think about and worry about,
Right.
and at the end of the day you're accountable no matter what, and that's an awesome responsibility. It's the
Mm-hmm.
shaping of leadership, and it's profound. So, but it requires something. So I'm committed in 2020. I
Yeah.
start out in 20. I want my health to be optimal. I want
Totally.
relaxation. I want that
Mm-hmm.
space, and I want, so that's what I'm building on. And then Corona came and said, "Well, you don't have to. You let's take care of a few things right now for you."
Right. Have a seat.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think now I'm more antsy now. I was completely happy with it. I watch so much Netflix. I'm subtitled out. Money Heist was the last thing I went on, journey I went on.
Right.
But I can't even stand to see that Netflix end start to dance across my string. No, I can't take it anymore.
Right.
So I'm talking to people. I mean, people. I lived in Hawaii. I've lived in Los Angeles, Toronto, of course, Detroit. So I'm like, oh, I'm renewing these Facebook friendships. They're turning into conversations because, oh,
Right.
hi, Sandra. I know you're back in Hawaii. Sandra Chun, she's a monk now. Monk. I don't know whether you call a woman a monk or a monkette or a monkess.
A mink.
Yeah, but she, yeah. Who would have thought Sandra Chun was going to be a monk and shave her head bald and serve people? But you never know.
That's
She's an
right.
extraordinary person. Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day that like one of the greatest gifts that the coronavirus is giving us is the opportunity to do like the most self-reflection anybody has ever been provided in modern America, right?
Yes.
Because we're all just going. And like you can, like you said, binge out on Netflix, but then at some point you're gonna be like, all right, I need to have like my own thought, like a few
Yeah.
of them. I can't
Yes.
just be served everything. And I think that people are really looking at like how they've done things before and just little things. Like I was thinking about it the other day, like you're going to a friend's house and you can just stop and pick up a bottle of wine. Well, like not anymore, right?
No.
And so like now you really have to plan. Well, I was just thinking about how you really have to plan for your groceries, and you might not get them for a week, right? Like if you do Instacart or if you're ordering from like a co-op or something like that, like you might not get it for a week. So you really have to plan. And then I was like, yeah, man, I really took for granted all those times I showed up to people's house without a bottle of wine, like, man, I really wasn't sure because it was so easy. Now I got to think about like, well, I'm not going anywhere, but you know what I mean? Like you got to really think about it. And I think that's just making a lot of us realize like how spoiled we were. And I think like the weight gain that we're all feeling, right, from just eating too much and not being active is making us really look at like our self-esteem or our, you know, our own, the reflection of self, right, whatever that looks like. And I think it's a really awesome opportunity to really think about like, who do you want to be, right? You know, like
Yes.
who do you want to be?
Yes.
Like where do you want to come? Like where are you going to stand when this comes out? Like you're going to be a revolutionary? You're going to let city, you know, hall on fire? Because I'm for that too, right? Like on some level, like we need to reshuffle this whole thing, right? And so, you know, it's just like even with Trump's presidency, like more women have run for office, more people of color have run for office. Like we're like these bad things like force good people to get more involved. And so, you know, where do you want to be? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? Like I was thinking about like, man, when I'm active, like I've just been running up and down my stairs to get exercise. Which is a surprisingly great workout. Like if you do like,
it's real.
if you run up those steps 20 times, you're gonna be winded and sweaty. I promise
like
you
the
that.
Stairmaster.
Right, except they're real stairs. Like you don't have to pay a gym; you just run up and down your stairs. But every time I do that, I feel so much better. I feel a little bit more fit and spry, and I'm like, oh,
how long do you run up and down?
I do 20 reps. So just like
and up and down is one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like 15 minutes or less. And then I do like arm exercises and a little bit of yoga. But I like the stair thing because it gets me like winded because I'm really out of shape from not being active for the last 2 months or a month and a half, whatever it is. Well, also the winter, I wasn't riding my bike as much. I was like, oh, I'm going to burn off this extra chin I, you know, created this winter. And then the pandemic hit and I'm like, oh, shit, I guess I'm eating pancakes every day. But that's kind of cool too. But
yeah, I was eating pancakes, Haagen-Dazs. It was like, you know, good. You know, I don't know when we're going to come out. I'm going to indulge myself, and then I got bored with eating.
Right, you're like,
okay, I've indulged myself because nobody's going to see me if I go to the store. I got on a mask, a coat, and some gloves. No one knows I'm, you know, incognito. I can get as fat as I want to, and when they say when America's gonna open, I can start my regime.
Right, you start hitting them stairs. Yeah, you know, well, and it just got me thinking. Like, I like the way that I feel when I'm active, right? Like, it has nothing to do with how I look.
Yeah, I'm an athlete.
Me too. Like I have a bad spine and really weak bones, but I grew up as an athlete and I played every sport, swim team, basketball, softball, the whole bit. I was volleyball, every single. I think my parents, I know for sure my parents use it as daycare. But I mean, they had 4 kids, so I'm not really mad at that. You know what I mean? My mom worked nights as a nurse and like all that. So, you know, good on them for making it work, you know, but yeah, it just really got me thinking about like, you know, how do I want to feel every day? How do I want to come out of this? Like, what do I want to look like? Like when, you know, where am I going to be? Right. Like, I don't want to be.
It's an exciting question.
It is yeah. It's like not,
I mean, it's tingly, it's chill bumpy.
It is. And it's cool because we kind of get to reinvent ourselves and like so many things are going to change, right? Like maybe you don't have a job in the city anymore. Maybe you can finally move out to the suburbs and spend way less. Like, maybe all of the things that like guided all of our decisions have changed, right? Like the housing market, like the job market, like transportation in Washington, D.C. I mean, before this pandemic hit, like for me to go 3.5 miles to work during rush hour was $50.
Wow. You mean in an Uber?
In an Uber.
I was in Washington a couple times last year.
Yeah, and it used to be like $8 you could get almost anywhere in the city, and then all of a sudden it went to 15, and then during rush hour they spike it. So like to get to my studio at any point in time during the day is $15, 3 miles. 3 miles. I mean, Detroit is laid out differently. DC's all close. So 3 miles is like there's a lot of stuff in between 3 miles and Detroit.
You could jog 3 miles.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why I used to always ride a bike. But then, you know, the city got too saturated and it got really dangerous to ride a bike. So I don't do as much. I don't bike commute anymore. You know, I bike for pleasure, but then I work so much. So I didn't really, you know, there's all these accessibility issues. There's all this sustainability issues. Like there's a huge inequality in my city, like between Ward 7 and Ward 8, which is across the river. It's like this little sliver of DC that's just like completely underfunded and underserved. There's like one grocery store. There's no hospitals there to have a baby.
Wow.
So if you're Black and you live in Ward 7 or Ward 8, like you can't have a baby there without
where the capital is.
Right. Like 2.5 miles from the White House or whatever it is. Wow. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any. I mean, there's people that grew up in Ward 7 and Ward 8 who have never seen the Washington Monument.
I went there to see. I went to the Smithsonian to see the African American National Museum.
Nice.
I mean, when I walked out of there, it was like I knew my story. I knew my history. But when I walked out of there, I knew my story, and I knew what people I came from. How, I mean, I went through 250 years down there, and I didn't cry. I saw all of the back ripped up from the whips. I saw the paintings of the women jumping out of the 2-story farmhouses. I saw the Black women with the white babies on their knee with vacant eyes, and the women, please don't sell my child. I didn't even cry. Not until I got to the 3rd and 4th floor when I saw James Baldwin, the athletes who won the track and field at the Olympics, Muhammad, all the record breakers, record setters, boundary pushers, and African American people. And I'm like, with all of this, this horrible thing, these and the extension of it now, Jim Crow, racism, all of the effort that it took to keep Black people down, and still systemically is doing it. Still, I understood my Angela, and still I rise. I was like, I'm a good investment, people. I told the National Endowment of Art, I'm a good investment. Look who I came from.
Right.
If I'm carrying a nonprofit on my back for 3 or 4 years, fund me. You
right.
can count on me to be here, because look at my genes, look at my legacy, look at and when I came out with my husband, we saw the 12 people with their MAGA hats, and there's no judgment against the human beings under the hats. I was just like, there was nothing, there was just compassion, because this too shall pass, and there's no fear, there's nothing, there's just the knowing of who I am, and the knowing where I came from, and no matter what you say or what the images are, it's all collected in this one museum. The history and the contributions and the strength and the continued contribution. It's like, when you think about it, how could America even existed without the inventions African Americans brought to bear? It would just be a confused little place. And so I I just
full of foreigners.
Bow down, because
I mean,
I feel good about,
for sure. Yeah. America would be a whole different place if it wasn't for the contributions and the sacrifices that people of color made, because, in the beginning, it was just a bunch of foreigners, right? Like everybody was a foreigner. It was like Norway came over, Irish people came over, Chinese people, like lots of people came over, but like the people that actually built the infrastructure against their will, you know what I mean? Not by choice.
And the people who were already here.
Right.
They were, the Native Americans were, you can see the paintings, you can see the drawings. They were a generous people here. Right. And they are the foundation of a certain kind of spirituality. They didn't believe you could own the land. Right. It was just big ideas, huge hearts and spirituality, and then they come and it's erased. It's there was an attempt to erase it, to weaken it, and that was successful to weaken it. But your language is important. Your history is important. The legacy of knowing who you are is important, not as a divisive thing, but as a thing that brings people together. Because if you make a sweet potato pie like your grandmother taught you how, and I bring my sweet potato pie like my grandmama taught me how to do it, we've got two sweet potato pie, and she put this special ingredient from Ireland.
Right.
Oh yeah, well this one came from Uganda. And it's like, you expand, the ideas. Like right now, we're trying to look at the curve, the pattern of this virus in all of the
Mhm.
different um, countries. We're trying to see how it's going to behave. We're sharing ideas of how to arrest it, how to
Mhm.
come together to create a
Mhm.
vaccine to mitigate it. And people are doing different practices around to do it. And so we need to share that because this is something that's unique to human beings. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't have pets. I don't. I think pets should. Pets are pets, but animals, I don't eat them and I don't want them in my house. And if you have a cat, or a dog, I don't, there's nothing bad I'm saying about you, but I'm scared of cats. They don't need to be on the planet except if they want to get some mice. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, they got a job too. They got,
I know I always say that. I'm not joking, but I've always had this sort of thing about cats. And when I lived in Hawaii, in Honolulu, I came home one day and there was this albino cat with two tails, tail up like this. And I was like, what is this? Are you trying? And then when Wall Street crashed, a friend of mine in Ferndale, she offered me the opportunity to live in her basement, which I appreciate so much
Yeah.
because and she had two cats, and I learned to live with two cats. There was Bella who didn't show herself. She stayed away, and then there was
Right.
other cat that was like, I'm ready to go out.
Right.
She said, just let him out while I'm at work. I let him, and then I'm ready to come in, and that was it. I said, hey, good,
Exactly.
yeah. Other than that, they didn't bother me.
There you go. I got a little dog. She's my number one. I'm not gonna lie. She's my number one homie. She's with me all the time. Been with me so much now that I think she's like training me at this point because she looks at me and like anytime I get on my phone, she gets in between me and my phone. It's really strange. I'm like, all right, Lily, I get it. I know the phone always upsets me. I get it. Sometimes she's smarter than I am, honestly. Oh man. Well, I have really enjoyed our conversation.
I've
I'm so
enjoyed it
glad that
too.
Rachel connected us and we'll have to
Yeah.
stay in touch. Like,
Yes, ma'am.
I would happily help consult or whatever for your digital transformation for the events. I've been
Okay.
live streaming and doing this digital thing for over 3 years now. Like
Okay.
I joke that I'm the queen of the stream, but like
Okay.
I'm kind of an idiot,
I'll shoot you my phone number.
But
Let's
yeah, I'd be
call and we
happy
can
to
talk.
answer some questions, like
Sure.
whatever, any information I have. I'm such a big fan of, Detroit. As we were chatting a little bit before we went live, I'm a huge fan of Detroit. I love everybody from Detroit. I went there for the first time, I don't even know, 5, 6 years ago. And then I went back 6 times in 1 year. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. And I've got friends there that I just like really, really value. Shout out to Micah Maria Torres. I mean, I can't even, if I name any names, I'm going to forget like 20 that I didn't name. But, like all my people in Detroit, like all the slow roll and Bikes and Murder, which is another, it sounds a little ominous, but they actually do really good work for the community. But I love the Detroit grit and just I feel like Detroit and DC are actually very, very similar in a lot of ways. I feel like they're very, very similar, just on a different timeline, you know?
Hmm.
But I feel like, and I think that's why I got along so well there, because I feel like where you have similar personalities, except Detroit people have more of a Midwestern vibe, so they'll introduce themselves, which we don't do
Well,
that in DC.
can I tell your audience our website?
Yes, please, please tell them. Yes.
twistedtellers.org. Like bank tellers, twistedtellers.org. Visit our website.
Amazing.
You can learn about me at satorishakoor.com,
Boom.
SATORISHAKOOR.com.
Amazing.
If you want to tell a story at our
Yeah.
event, please contact us, and when we go back live, we'll be happy to have you on the show. Or if you just want to watch our YouTube channel, the Secret
Yeah.
Society of Twisted Storytellers, we have over 400 stories on there in different categories, and like I said, our mission is uplifting, thought-provoking, soul cleansing. So go have a ball listening to human beings
That's amazing. I love it. I'm definitely going to go check out the YouTube channel and watch some of these presentations. I'm excited to see them and learn more. Like I said, when I clicked on your website and I heard your voice, I was like, oh, this is so good. I'm so excited about this conversation. And
Yeah.
usually I know everybody that's on this show. So I was like, oh, this is cool. This would be fun to meet someone new and share some energy. And yeah, just let me know how I can be supportive to anything that you're doing. Now or in the future. And of course, if you ever find yourself in DC, you got to hit me
Yes, I
up.
do find myself in DC. I was there a couple of times last year.
Oh,
Had to go to
perfect.
a conference, and I have a couple friends there. And it's
Yeah. So,
uh,
well, me, you, and Rachel will have to go out for drinks and chop it
yes,
up.
come.
Yeah.
Yes, let me know when you're in Detroit, and I'll show you around too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully, when this thing
yeah,
lifts a little bit, I'll be
yeah.
back for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
All right, a big virtual hug.
Yeah, air hug. Yes. Well, one day I'll get to hug you for real. So
Yes. All
awesome.
right, Molly.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that has been tuning in for another day of Live from the Living Room. I'm not doing it every day like I once was because my client work was starting to struggle a little bit, to be honest. It's a little bit of work doing a daily show, but I'm super grateful for the opportunity to talk to people and to provide a little something different in your afternoon. I hope you guys are all having a great week. It's Friday. You made it. We're one more week down the path. We got this. Stay the course. Stay inside. I love you, and I'll see you guys. See y'all soon. Thank you.